Kia ora koutou, Marky here in the half light. The bad lighting, looking particularly grizzled today because I've not been very well. Okay, this is an important video, and I'm going to begin with a couple of important questions. Okay, do you have a problem with porn? And if not, does your partner or a member of your family have a problem with porn? Lots of people do, and it's something that very few people are talking about, at least not talking about in a helpful way. Okay, so it's something that I have been talking about, and I think I like to think in a helpful way. I've done quite a long series on this, and I've also done some other individual videos on subjects related to this. But in this day and age, branding is everything. And as you can probably tell already, even if you're new to this channel, this is not a slick channel. This is a very simple channel where often I shoot things very spontaneously, shoot from the hip. And, you know, we don't do lots of fancy branding. Now, the series that I did before, I did it in response. I was trying to be clever, really, which is never a good idea. I tried to make it topical. And I put it off the back of something that was happening at the time. So I did this series thinking that, you know, it might get lots of views and get the message out there, because it's really important to me that this message gets out there. However, I think it kind of maybe backfired a little bit. So if something's worth doing, it's worth doing twice. But obviously, always the second time you approach something, you do it with the wisdom of hindsight and all that kind of thing. So so there are some things that I've learned in the meantime, and also I'd like to kind of build more elements into this. So what I want to do is put together a series, and a new series, about the dangers and the risks of pornography. Okay, and what I want to do is touch on some of the related topics as well. So what I want to talk about is things like the neuroscience of pornography, what it does to the brain. What I want to talk about is controversies. So, for example, in the psychiatric manuals that are used at the moment, they don't refer to sex addiction as a thing. So, sex addiction is very out of favour as a diagnosis in the psychiatric and the medical and the psychological and counselling professions. It's not something that's kind of referred to. However, there is a lot of evidence to suggest that it very much is a thing, and I believe it's a thing. So we'll be arguing the case for why sex addiction is such a thing. And if there is such a thing as sex addiction, which I believe there is, but we'll discuss that and we'll look at the pros and cons and the arguments for and against. What's the difference between, is that the same as porn addiction? Okay, now short answer is sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Okay, so in other videos that I've done, I've talked about porn dependency and sex addiction, and the overlaps between the two and the differences between the two. So we're going to explore that. We're going to look at things like sexual anorexia, because that's something that's very seldom talked about. So we're going to talk a lot about neuroscience, what happens in the brain with pornography. And bear in mind, none of this is going to be coming from a moralistic point of view. I'm not going to be telling you that pornography is bad. I will be telling you some things, some bad things about pornography. My kind of stance on this is that I think pornography is inevitable. I don't think it's necessarily bad per se, but there are an awful lot of bad things about pornography in terms of how it's made, the messages that it gives, and the effects that it has on the people that use it and the people who make it. Okay, so we're going to go into some depth on that. So I'm not going to make, you know, kind of glib, fast kind of judgments or statements about the whether it's a good thing, a bad thing, whether it should be banned, you know, whether it's a moral scourge. I'm not going to be coming from a moralistic point of view. I'm going to be coming very much from a practical point of view, drawing on evidence. Okay, so you're not going to be lectured. You're not going to be told. You're not going to be shamed. You're not going. If you've got a problem with pornography, I'm going to talk to you in a way that's helpful, warm, friendly, tolerant, understanding, sympathetic. Okay. So what else are we going to talk about? So we talk about things like how if you have ADHD, that might make you more prone to problems with pornography. How things like autism might feed into that as well. We're going to be talking about loads of stuff. And as usual, I'll probably forget the key points, which is what kind of I tend to do as I'm becoming more senior. So we'll put those in the description box below. So this is about getting the information out there to help people. This is about taking away some of the illusions, literally demystifying, and also looking at most important thing really, which I kind of mentioned at the end, is what you can do if you've got a problem with pornography. And also, how do you know if you've got a problem with pornography? Because, you know, if you're using pornography X amount of hours, you know, a certain amount of time or whatever, and all your mates are doing the same, does that mean you have a problem? Does it mean you don't have a problem? How do you know it's a problem? It might not be that necessarily that obvious to you. So just to kind of qualify a little bit, I'm a psychotherapist. My background is in many things. I've ended up kind of working in a number of really niche specialist areas. And this is one of them. And addiction is, you know, I've worked for years in addiction, and addiction is in my blood. I kind of really, you know, I really have a passion for working with addiction. I really kind of understand addiction. I love working with addiction, helping people out of addiction. What I like about that kind of work, among other things, is there are so many different ways that you can approach it. It's a very holistic, recovery from addiction is a very holistic process. So I'm going to be talking about as well, we're going to go to some of the kind of really kind of edgy areas as well, is what if you are starting to look at things that you don't want to be looking at in pornography. And I don't necessarily mean illegal things, although often it can escalate to that, okay? But it might be that, you know, you're starting to look at some things that are legal, and one of the many kind of genres of pornography that are available so easily at the moment, but one that, you know, maybe 6 months ago or a year ago you thought was disgusting and didn't interest you at all, but now you start. So it might be something fetishistic, you know, some kind of particular niche. It might be a particular type of model, but it's something where you feel like you're kind of starting to stray into some areas that you initially felt uncomfortable with, and you know what's going on there. What's that about? I'm going to be talking about that as well. Friends. So the other thing I want to say as well is really that with my channel, I do all the wrong things with the YouTube channel, because for reasons which I've explained in other videos. Okay, so we have to be ourselves. We have to work in a way that fits with our personality and who we are. So I include all kinds of things on this channel, including some quite kind of frivolous, humorous, light-hearted stuff. I do really bad reviews of TV series that I watch and things like that. But there are some areas that I talk about on my YouTube where I do have expertise. Expert is a word that I use lightly. You know, I don't think anyone should use the word expert expert is a word that I don't use lightly. That sounds better, doesn't it? You know, I don't think people should go around kind of claiming to be experts when they're not. I have quite a degree of expertise in, well, certainly a lot of expertise in addiction, and there are areas where there are a few areas where I would dare to call myself an expert. Retroactive jealousy being another one of them. So there are some areas where I have a little bit of knowledge or an interest, and I talk about something. So you just want to qualify really is that just because you see me kind of, you know, talking about something frivolous in another video doesn't mean that, you know, I don't know stuff. You know, and this series is going to be based on hard evidence and also clinical experience, you know, from people that I've worked with and stuff. So it's kind of real stuff. You know, based on real experience. It's interesting how kind of, you know, people will kind of challenge this kind of thing in the comments, having no clinical experience and not having studied, read, looked into the subject at all. You know, people will kind of, you know, very confidently challenge these things on just pure ill-informed opinion. You know, and I don't mind people challenging me or asking questions or, you know, politely challenging. That's all kind of good really, but you know, I kind of feel like we're in a battle really. You know, the truth shall set you free, not just a biblical phrase, but you know, a very practical phrase, you know, and that's what this channel ultimately is about really. It's about providing information which will make people feel a whole lot better, because we're very cruel to ourselves as a rule. We're very cruel to others as a species, and I hate that. And where people are struggling and the right kind of information can be made available to them, I want to be a part of that process. I'm very passionate about that. So if you're one of my supporters, and you kind of you watch my kind of silly light-hearted videos, and support me in those, I really hope you'll support me in this one as well, even more so. So if you can share this, that would be fantastic. So this is kind of like a kind of introduction trailer pilot to basically a new series on, and I'm probably going to call it something like, do you have a problem with porn? May call it something else. So think of this as a pilot come trailer, just to kind of get the word out, really, that this is what I want to talk about. Now, if you can't wait for me to kind of start talking about this stuff in this new series, you can watch the old one. Okay, so if you go into my playlists, these things are all listed, and I've done a lot of stuff on various kind of sexual problems, including pornography. So all the information is already there. What I basically want to do now is just to repackage it, to put it out there in a more accessible form. And what I'll probably do as well is make the episodes slightly longer, because I think there were lots of, at the time, YouTube wouldn't let me shoot long videos. It seems like the longer you're with them, or the more followers you get, or something like that, the more the length of video, they kind of throw you a few more bones. They give you a bit more rope, so I can now kind of record quite long videos, which I think is easier than following. There tends to be a lot of drop off when you have a series of lots of different parts. So hopefully it'll be not that many episodes, but longer episodes. And think of them as podcasts as well, because it's just my ugly mug in front of the iPhone camera, usually shaking, usually the wrong way around. So don't feel you've got to sit there and watch these videos. Do the washing up and listen to these. Go for listen to these while you're driving. Think of them more as podcasts, really. And also, last point, I guess, is if you have any questions, if there's anything you want me to cover in this series, really would be it'd be great to have your questions. So please ask away. And if you have any suggestions of things that you want me to specifically cover, or if you have someone that you're worried about and you want to say, Mark, my partner's blah blah blah, or my son's blah blah blah, obviously don't put anyone in a difficult position in terms of outing them, but if you're able to kind of discreetly raise a concern, then I'll sort of try my best to help in this particular instance. And I want this to be positive as well, because there is help. Things can change. If you get the right kind of help, you can get through this. Without the right kind of help, it's very difficult to get through this. Okay, so I guess this is a series that's going to join a lot of my other individual videos, because I've done lots of videos on addiction recovery. I've done videos on 12-step addiction recovery. I've done videos on problematic sexual behaviours. This is a video series that I hope to kind of just link everything together, really. Doesn't mean that you won't find the other videos helpful, because they'll go into more depth on the specific different bits. But what I want to do is a more accessible series on this. So please help if you're one of my supporters, or if you're not one of my supporters. If you've just come across this video cold, please subscribe. That's a big help. Please hit the like button. That's always a big help. Please give a polite comment. You don't have to agree. You can be challenging, but be polite. And share it among other people. All these things help raise the profile. So YouTube will show this video and this forthcoming series to more people. Okay, because this problem is epidemic. Okay, it's a massive problem. Nobody's talking about it. Loads of people are suffering with it, and it's time that they got the deserved information and the deserved help. We're able to start getting well and take away the shame and the stigma and all those kinds of things. Help people kind of start to feel better and get better. So that's the mission. Thank you very much. Really value your support. Thank you for watching this, and Rangi Marie.